This is L with 5dworldmedia.com on the Apprehensive Perception, a Mind Control Elimination Workshop program. Answering emails that came to me in regards to how do I know or how do I feel that I am a walk-in entity. Most walk-in entities, if they're true to it, know that they're walk-ins. There has been an experience in their life that they only have experienced, that they can only, and it's very difficult for us to express it, other than flat out telling you that at 2 to 3 years old, standing in front of my mother, talking to her, or she talking to me, and then I realized that I was older. My perception had changed, and there was a physical or a internal look or an internal experience of my view. When I say view, now you got to talk and come from the perspective of you viewing the world from your eyes, right? Because there's no imagery in your head, right? There's no couch in your head, right? There's no building in your head, but that's a image of the world that you see through your eyes, that your eyes give back to your brain, which is very miraculous, very, very outstanding and interesting. Just the concept of that alone, that one thing. But to find yourself standing in front of someone and you see your whole world go blank and then come back online, it's like you close your eyes and open them, but your eyes are open. And you've seen it close, and you know it closing, but when it came back, my perceptions were different. My memory was now being recorded, and I could remember from that point forward. I don't remember ever being with my mom and dad. I don't ever remember them being married. I don't remember them being together. I don't remember us ever living together. I don't remember anything like that. It's always been this red brick building as far as my memory go back, and all kind of outstanding and very strange things happened to me at that place. And speaking with my mom, like I said before, she says that I was 2 to 3 years old. Now, 2 to 3 years old and have that type of memory and that logic behind it. Not that you can't have memory, but the logic behind it. You don't go back, oh, I remember this, that, and, I had some candy and all this. No, I actually stopped and realized that something had changed and realized that I was older, although I physically was not older. I mentally was older. So that became the walk-in, because what happens is with walk-in spirits or entities, it's a couple of things that can happen. One, it can be an agreed upon thing to happen, or it can be a takeover, okay, which you call possessions. And then we have what we call walk-ins. And then you have entities that are vampires that drain your life force from your aura. Okay, and then you have those people who are around you who are vampires who drain from your aura and your physical contact, meaning that some of them actually touch you and drain you. Some of them just stand in your aura and drain you. Some are three-dimensional beings, which are beings that you can physically touch and see, and then there's dimensional beings that you cannot see, and some that you can see, but they're not in physical form. Even a cloud is physical. It's a third-dimensional thing. It's like smoke, mist, dust, you know what I mean? So those things are physical, but we're talking about non-physical beings, beings that we would call invisible. And they're not invisible, they're just invisible for your light perspective or your eyes perspective. You can't see them because you don't have the eyes to see them. And you can use your third eye, which is your spiritual, and your kundalini. You have to get into a different state of mind, which is induced by other things. All right, whether it's chemical induced, meaning street chemicals or some type of hallucinogenic, or you actually can tap into your own third eye and your own spiritual realm and access that information from the ether. But to be a walk-in spirit or walk-in entity, you have to be very much aware that you are. Then you have to look back over your life and see the outstanding things that have happened. Outstanding doesn't necessarily mean good. It just means the things that you remember that were outstanding enough for you to remember them today. You know, you don't have to be ran over by a car or given $1,000 bill. It could be simply as you walking and a bird crapped down your shirt, and you just bought your brand new shirt, and your new girl was with you, or your new guy, and you thought you were cute, or you thought you was, cat daddy, and the shit hit you in the neck and messed up your whole thing. You remember that one for a long time. Why? Because it was embarrassing. All right. So the same thing with things like this. They're not embarrassing, but they're outstanding to the point that you remember, and no one else knows this but you. So based on the type of entity you are, is how it works. Now, a lot of the walk-ins choose to use bodies that are already older because they don't want to experience the childhood experience again. Some don't mind that. Some actually want to come in when someone is sick and take over the body and recharge their bodies and use that body. A lot of things happen when your mind gets fragmented, right? When they do MK Ultra, which is mind control, when they do those things, they fragment your mind. And they fragment your mind with pain, terrible experiences. And you try to store those things away so you don't remember those, or you don't want to constantly be thinking about them all the time, so you store them away. And when you store those away, that residue from that control mechanism is stored with it. So all it needs is a certain cue, and it will return. Just like when someone says that they are off drugs or off drinking or whatever it is that they're calling themselves not doing, not eating any McDonald's or whatever. If you say, I'm 6 months sober, okay, that means you're counting. That means subconsciously you're still thinking about it. Either you stopped drinking or you didn't. It's about as simple as that. You can't go off there. The last time I had a drink was last month and then you got to go back to that experience. So that puts you back in that place, which means it opens up those cues and all the feelings that are associated with it. So if you're having some type of issues that you want to get away from, it's not good to go back and count how many days it was since the last episode. Just let it go. Deal with it and then let it go. And it's easy to say, I know, been hard to do, and we all have issues that we have to deal with, but that's the truth. So, being a walk-in spirit or entity only means that I'm aware of the change. Now, what happened was because I was so young that I was able to be here and get this whole experience again, and now I had to fight my way back out of the conditioning that the world has given me. And the world is anything outside of yourself. You see, most of the time we get indoctrinated with things based on our family. And it starts with your parents. And then from your parents, it gets to your grandparents, and then your aunts and uncles, and then your brothers and sisters, and so on and so forth. All these people will influence you first. And then you go out into the world where you start school, and then you start dealing with the world at that point, or daycare or whatever. But once you go outside of your nucleus, now the world is going to now start influencing you. All right, and then you are not surrounded with knowledge of the spirit realm. They teach you about religions, they teach you about schools, they teach you about, the things like that. And all those things have its place, and it's fine, But the point is that many of us that are walk-ins, we don't forget. We just don't have the material or the blueprint to understand it, because 9 times out of 10, everyone around you don't understand it. Okay? And they don't even know. Because if they did know, they would be talking to you about it. Like I talk to my children. I tell them about these different things that I've experienced, from encounters with other beings, other life forms and life forces, uh, seeing things, being involved with things, and it gets pretty hair raising only because of the main thing that we have to bat down, which is fear. All right, so with that, I'm going to go. I'm not going to stay on here long on this, but walking entities are entities that have taken over a physical body. Doesn't mean you possess, doesn't mean it's bad. What it means is that there are entities such as I that come in and out of different bodies when we choose to do so. And we come in these bodies and we remember some things, but we definitely know. In my case, I knew when it was a takeover between me, whoever I am, and Cedric. All right, Cedric was the preoccupying individual that had to go, or is still here in a subconscious. But the point is, and the reason I say that I am not Cedric is because I was fighting this individual, and my mom had gave me a whooping in order for me to not tear my clothes up and be fighting and carrying on and blaming Cedric. So she felt that I was making a make-believe person. So most of the children who have make-believe friends are walk-ins, because who they're playing with is themselves, and they're exchanging between themselves and the walk-in, of course, the ancestors and other things of that nature. I mean, one of my children actually played with reptilians here at the house. Talked about green and purple and red tails, and that one of the reptilians tried to bite him or nicked him or something because he was not nice and the other ones were nice. You see, when we hear things like that, we need to be aware of that, what exactly that is. In any case, we'll upload again. Any additional questions, reach out, and thank you for listening.